Some had suffered under the Empire's taxation, others under forced relocations. But all were horrified by the massacre of Earth's children. On the moon world of Altara, a seraphic elder bowed her shimmering head and said, "Your children were ambassadors of peace. Their loss wounds us all." And so, one by one, worlds aligned under a new coalition, the Star Shield Accord. Meanwhile, in the Empire capital on Vascros, Emperor Rethvoxis dismissed the rising coalition as a temporary annoyance. "Humans are emotional creatures," he sneered. "They will tire. They will retreat. They always do." He was wrong. Humanity did not retreat. They advanced. The first strike. The first battle of the war took place near the Triarch Gate, a massive hyperspace relay controlled by the Empire. It was the same relay the Erebus Dawn had attempted to cross before its destruction. Marcus insisted on attending the battle personally aboard Earth's flagship, the Resolute Horizon. Admiral Seravelos, a stern woman with silver-threaded hair, protested. "Ambassador, warfare is my field, not yours." "This began with diplomacy," Marcus replied. "And it must end with it, one way or another." The battle unfolded like a storm. Empire cruisers emerged through the gate, dark and angular, their hulls etched with symbols of conquest. The Resolute Horizon, flanked by Starshield allies, met them head-on. Plasma flares lit the void. Rail lances fired streaks of white fire. The Triarch Gate pulsed with unstable energy as shockwaves slammed into it. Marcus watched from the command bridge, every explosion reflected in his eyes. "This isn't enough," the Admiral murmured. "They'll keep sending more." Marcus nodded. "Then we take the gate." "The gate? Ambassador, that's impossible. No one has ever." But Marcus was already issuing orders to the Allied fleet. "Disable the anchors. Sever their reinforcements. Make it ours." Minutes later, coordinated strikes from Allied ships detonated the gate's anchoring nodes. Empire reinforcements vanished as the gate destabilized, but before it collapsed, Earth engineers remotely restructured its core. The Triarch Gate, once an imperial monument, now glowed with a new color. Blue. The color of Earth's banner. It became humanity's first captured outpost. Word spread across the galaxy with wildfire speed. The Empire had not simply been resisted. It had been beaten. The Empire strikes back. Empire retaliation was swift. Entire fleets descended on coalition worlds. Cities burned. Planets were blockaded. The Empire wanted to crush humanity before it gained more support. But humanity had something the Empire never understood. Unity through grief. Fear had splintered the Empire into paranoia and cruelty. But grief had bound Earth and its allies into unbreakable steel. Through each counterstrike, Marcus remained on the front lines, not as a warrior, but as a reminder. He visited refugee camps. He sent messages to frightened colonies. He negotiated ceasefires to evacuate civilians. And at every turn, he carried the memory of the Erebus Dawn within him. Some nights he stood alone on a viewing deck, watching stars drift past the hull of whatever ship he was on, and whispered the names of every lost child. He would not forget them. He would not let the galaxy forget them either. Ending. As the war stretched into its second year, the Empire began to fracture. Governors rebelled. Admirals defected. Fear turned inward. The coalition grew stronger, more daring, more united. And finally, Marcus received the message he had waited for. A group of Empire generals had staged a coup. The Emperor had been deposed. They sought negotiations with Earth. Marcus traveled to the Empire capital under heavy escort. The grand citadel of Vascros loomed like a dead colossus, its once proud banners torn and burned. Inside a dim marble hall, the generals waited, tired, shaken, but determined to end the war. Ambassador Thane, one of them said, voice trembling, We wish to surrender.
Marcus said nothing. He let the silence weigh heavily.
Only when the generals lowered their eyes did he ask, Why now? Because, another admitted, we never believed humans would fight this hard. Not for children. Not for something so small. Marcus stepped forward, fury and sorrow entwined. To you, they were small, he said softly. To us, they were our future.
The hall went silent.
Then Marcus delivered Earth's terms. Justice for the leaders. Dissolution of the Empire's oppressive structures. Protection for allied worlds. A memorial built on Vascros, bearing every child's name. The generals accepted. The war ended. Epilogue. Years later, Marcus stood on the polished stone steps of the Children's Memorial. Visitors from every species wandered among the luminous pillars, each bearing the glowing inscription of a child who had once carried hope across the stars. A young seraphic girl approached Marcus, her crystalline form shimmering. Ambassador, she asked, why did your people fight so fiercely? Why for children you could never bring back? Marcus knelt, meeting her glowing eyes. Because, he said, peace means nothing if we don't protect the innocent. And because those children showed the galaxy what unity could look like.
She nodded slowly.
And did you win the war? Marcus looked up at the endless stars. We didn't fight to win a war, he murmured. We fought so no child, human or otherwise, would ever face what they did. If we've achieved even a fraction of that, then yes, we won. A soft breeze swept through the memorial, and for the first time since the tragedy, Marcus felt a quiet, fragile peace. Not because the war had ended, but because the children of the Erebus Dawn would never be forgotten. The Erebus Dawn drifted across the black gulf between stars, its hull reflecting streaks of starlight like molten steel. It was meant to be a beacon of peace, an outreach vessel from Earth carrying 150 children on a cultural exchange mission. The idea had been proposed by the Earth Diplomatic Union itself. Show the galaxy that humanity's youngest generation sought unity, not conflict. For a time, it had worked. Worlds once suspicious of humanity had welcomed the Dawn's bright-eyed passengers. The children had visited temples built inside asteroids, walked through glowing jungles on the moon of Threllis, and danced with species whose forms sparkled like living crystal. They were peace, embodied. But peace terrifies those who rule through fear. The Galactic Empire, ancient, iron-fisted, convinced humanity was a threat, watched the mission with growing unease. They saw humanity's children forming friendships across hundreds of worlds. They saw admiration rising for Earth. And in their paranoia, they decided that a message had to be sent. A brutal one. The Erebus Dawn never completed its final return route. Empire warships intercepted it in the shadow of a red dwarf. No warning. No conversation. No mercy. The vessel was destroyed. No escape pods recovered. 150 children gone in an instant. Beginning. Earth received the news 12 hours later. And with it came the official statement from the Empire. Your species grows too bold. Consider this a corrective measure. The galaxy waited for Earth's response. Humanity, after all, had become known for diplomacy first, retaliation second. They had survived not by force, but by words and unity. The response came not from Earth's generals, but from its chief diplomat, Ambassador Marcus Thane. Marcus had been the architect of the cultural exchange mission. He had personally visited each world on its itinerary. He had promised parents their children would come home inspired, enlightened, changed. Instead, he had to deliver news no diplomat should ever give. Marcus stood before the unified Earth Council, his usually steady hands trembling. His voice carried a quiet, devastating intensity. "They massacred children," he said. "Our children."
No one interrupted. Not the military leaders. Not the governors.
Not the president herself.
For Marcus was not just a diplomat.
He was humanity's voice to the stars. And now that voice carried a thunder the galaxy had never heard.
Marcus drew a slow breath.
From this moment, Earth's diplomatic relations with the Galactic Empire are dissolved.
A ripple of shock swept the room.
And, Marcus continued, his voice steadying into stone, until every responsible Empire leader faces justice, Earth is, without hesitation, in a state of total war.
Silence followed. Then the room erupted. Some protested. Some supported him. Some panicked at the enormity of what he declared.
The Empire commanded thousands of systems, millions of soldiers, fleets larger than Earth had ever dared to match.
Marcus merely closed his eyes. He saw the children's faces. The drawings they'd given him. The promises he'd made. He would not break those promises. And so humanity entered its darkest chapter. Middle.
War preparations spread across Earth and its colonies like wildfire.
Shipyards glowed day and night.
Scientists accelerated forbidden projects. Engineers resurrected prototypes never approved for use. The Peace Corps was repurposed into an intelligence strike division. A species known for its diplomacy became a storm gathering on the horizon.
But diplomacy had not left Marcus. He sought allies.
And the galaxy listened. For while the Empire had ruled for centuries, its brutality had made enemies everywhere. Species too afraid to stand alone, but willing to stand with humanity. Marcus traveled from world to world, rallying them. The crystalline seraphics. The oceanic Lurelin. Even the enigmatic Voss, who communicated only through pulses of ultraviolet light.